I used to believe in perfect marriages. Emily and I, our life seemed flawless. She laughed at my jokes, kissed me goodbye every morning, and I thought we were unshakable. But that unease, it was always there, lurking like a shadow. "Hey, you okay?" Ryan asked over coffee last Friday. He'd been quiet all morning, stirring his drink slowly. Yeah, fine," I muttered, forcing a smile. "Just work stress." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "You sure it's just work? You've been a little off lately." I laughed, more out of nervousness than humor. "Off? Come on, I'm fine. Emily and I, everything's perfect." He leaned back, folding his arms. "Perfect, huh? Did you see her last week? At that cafe on 5th? I froze, nearly choking on my sip. "What do you mean?" Ryan shrugged. "I saw her with someone. Didn't look like a business meeting. Just saying." "Ryan, come on. Maybe it was a friend," I said, trying to sound casual, but my voice cracked slightly. "Maybe," he said, eyes piercing. "But you might want to pay attention." I brushed it off at first. Emily was charming, affectionate, and I trusted her completely. Yet a small knot formed in my stomach. Later that evening, Emily flitted into the kitchen, humming. "Hey babe," she said, kissing my cheek. "Hey," I replied, trying to ignore the sudden tightness in my chest. "Long day." She shrugged, her smile faint, almost forced. "Not really. Just ran a few errands." "Errands? Late at night?" I asked. "Oh, traffic, long lines," she waved it off. "Don't worry about it." I did worry. I always did, but I shoved the thought aside. A few days later, I noticed her phone buzzing constantly. Late at night. Messages she would quickly hide when I entered the room. "Emily, who's texting you at 1 in the morning?" I asked cautiously. "Ryan, is that you interrogating me now?" She laughed, but her eyes flickered with something I couldn't place. "Just curious," I said, swallowing the lump forming in my throat. She kissed my cheek, soft and reassuring. "Nothing to worry about, love. Just work stuff." And yet, that tiny seed of doubt began growing. Saturday afternoon, Ryan stopped by. "Hey man," he said, tossing his bag onto the couch. "Mind if I be blunt?" I gestured for him to sit. "Always." "I still think you need to pay attention," he said. "Not just some random cafe incident. I noticed a few things. Emily's been sneaky lately. Disappearing for hours, guarding her phone." I shook my head, trying to laugh it off. "You sound paranoid. Emily's always been, well, Emily. Charming, a little secretive sometimes." Ryan leaned forward, voice low. "This isn't charm. Something's off. Trust me on this one." Okay, I said, heart hammering. "I'll keep an eye out." After he left, I went to the bedroom. Emily wasn't there. I found her purse on the counter. Curiosity gnawed at me. I checked inside, rationalizing, just to see if anything obvious is wrong. And then I found it, a receipt from a luxury hotel. The date was recent. My heart dropped, a cold, heavy weight settling in my chest. I held the paper in my hands, staring at it like it might dissolve into nothing. Questions flooded my mind. Why was she there? Who with? The perfect life I thought I had, shattered in an instant. When Emily returned, I tried to act normal. "Hey," I said, voice even. "Hey, did you have fun today?" she asked, setting her bag down and smiling. "Yeah, sure," I muttered, forcing a smile. My hands shook slightly, the receipt hidden in my pocket. She hummed happily, oblivious, or pretending to be. "Dinner's almost ready. Want to help?" "Sure," I said, but I couldn't shake the image of that hotel, that mysterious stay, the smile she had when I wasn't watching. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. Emily was next to me, breathing softly, peaceful. I wanted to trust her, I wanted to believe in us. But every late-night message, every unexplained absence, and Ryan's words played over and over in my mind. I whispered into the dark, "What are you hiding, Emily?" And for the first time I realized, the life I thought perfect was built on a lie. "Emily, can we talk?" I asked that morning, leaning against the doorway while she made coffee. She looked up, smiling lazily. "About what?" "Just your schedule. You've been distant." She laughed, the sound light, dismissive. "Distant? I think you're overthinking again." "I'm not overthinking," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You just what?" she interrupted, tilting her head. "You think I'm hiding something? Really, come on. We've been married for 5 years. Do you think I'd suddenly start lying?" I swallowed hard. "No, it's just, sometimes I feel like you're somewhere else." Emily rolled her eyes, sipping her coffee. "Somewhere else? I'm right here. You're imagining things." Her words should have comforted me, but they didn't. I could feel my chest tighten, that same uneasy knot from before. At work I tried to focus, but every thought kept drifting back to her. I glanced at my phone, no messages from her yet. My coworker Jenna noticed. "You okay? You look distracted," she said. "Just tired," I muttered. "Long week." "Mm. Anything going on at home?" she asked casually. I forced a laugh. No, all good." But my mind raced. I started noticing the small cracks, her sudden charm at social events, subtle smiles that seemed directed at no one. A neighbor, Mr. Hawkins, waved at me one evening. "Beautiful wife you have. She's always so engaging." I forced a smile. "Thanks." Engaging. The word stuck in my mind. I remembered the hotel receipt, the late-night messages, Ryan's warning. My heart pounded, but I tried to breathe. Later that day, Emily called from her car. "Hey, I'll be late tonight. Work ran over. Don't wait up." I hesitated. "Emily, can you at least tell me where exactly?" "Oh, I have a meeting with a client," she said lightly. "You worry too much." Her voice sounded so calm, so practiced. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to. That evening, I was in the living room when I heard her phone ring. She didn't notice I was listening when she answered. "Mark?" "Yes, I got your message," she whispered. My stomach dropped. "Mark. Her ex. What time?" she continued, voice soft. "I'll be there. Don't worry, I've got it all planned." I froze. My hands gripped the arm of the chair until my knuckles hurt. My mind spun. "Mark. Plans. What?" I wanted to confront her, scream, demand answers. But a part of me, maybe the part still clinging to hope, told me to stay calm, wait, observe. The next morning I tried to talk to her again. "Emily, last night I heard you on the phone." "Who's Mark?" She looked startled for a second, then laughed, brushing it off. "Mark? Oh, just an old friend. Don't read too much into it." "An old friend makes plans with you, at night?" I asked, my voice tighter than intended. "It's nothing," she said quickly. "Really? I don't know why you're making this a big deal." Her nonchalance was infuriating, and my heart ached at the same time. How could she be so casual, so perfect in her deception? At work, I couldn't concentrate. Every conversation felt like a test. Every passing glance from a stranger or neighbor made me imagine Emily smiling the same way she did when talking to Mark. Ryan might have been right, I muttered to myself, shoving papers around my desk. I can't ignore this anymore. Later, I ran into Jenna again. "You've got that look," she said. "Trouble at home?" "I don't know," I admitted. "Maybe. Emily's acting different. I overheard her last night." Jenna raised an eyebrow. "Overheard? That can mess with your mind. But you trust your instincts, right?" I nodded, grateful for her words even if they stung. My instincts screamed that something was very wrong. When I got home, Emily was already there, humming while unpacking groceries. "Hey, how was your day?" she asked. "Long," I said shortly. "I need to know, you and Mark. What's going on?" She looked at me, eyes wide, pretending shock. "Mark? Seriously? He's just a friend. Why are you making such a scene?" "Don't lie to me," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I heard you. You're planning something with him." Emily laughed softly, leaning against the counter. "Planning something? You're imagining things, love. Don't let your mind get carried away." Her smile felt like a blade against my chest. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to demand the truth. Instead, I nodded, swallowing my anger, hiding the rage I felt bubbling inside. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling. My reflection in the dark window showed a man trying to hold it together, failing. Emily lay beside me, peaceful, unaware, or pretending to be. I whispered into the darkness, how long has this been going on?" And I realized that the cracks in our life were no longer small, they were spreading, unstoppable, and I had no idea if I could survive what came next. I followed her that evening, keeping a distance, heart hammering so loudly I was sure she'd hear it. My hands gripped the steering wheel like I could will them to stop shaking. "Emily," I muttered to myself. "Where are you going?" She parked in front of a luxury hotel, the same one from the receipt I found. My chest tightened, cold and heavy. I watched her step out, heels clicking on the pavement. And then I saw him, Mark. Smooth, smiling, waiting. I couldn't move. My mind refused to process what I was seeing. "Emily?" I called out, stepping closer. She turned, startled. "Oh, hi. What are you?" I cut her off. "Why, Emily? Why are you here? With him?" She blinked as if my words were absurd. "Here? It's just what?" I shouted. Just meeting your ex? Just lying to me for months. Mark stepped forward, his grin irritatingly calm. Hey, no need to get dramatic. We were just talking. Talking? I laughed bitterly. Talking in a hotel suite at night? Emily, look at me. Her eyes softened, almost like she felt sorry for me. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I'm sorry. Sorry? My voice cracked. Do you know what that word even means? You lied. Every single night you came home smiling, pretending. Pretending we had a life, a marriage, and meanwhile. Listen, she said, taking a step closer. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. I shouted, my hands trembling. I understand that the life I thought I had was a lie. That everything, every laugh, every kiss, was fake. Mark put a hand on her shoulder and I wanted to punch him. Emily, let's go, he said, voice calm, almost taunting. She looked at me, conflicted for a second. Then she smiled, cold and cruel. I can't stop this, not now. I stumbled back. Stop this. You mean leave me for him? Yes, she whispered. I'm sorry. I love him and You love him. I laughed through the tears. You loved me? Was it ever real? She didn't answer. She just turned and walked toward the hotel doors with Mark. I ran after them, desperate. Emily, please. Don't do this. Don't leave me. She stopped for a moment, looking back over her shoulder. It's too late, she said softly. I'm sorry. Goodbye. And then she was gone, disappearing into the lobby with Mark, hand in hand. I fell to my knees on the pavement, chest heaving. My vision blurred and I couldn't catch my breath. Rage, disbelief, heartbreak, they all collided inside me like a storm. You can't do this, I whispered, voice breaking. You can't just. But they were gone. The hotel doors closed behind them and I was left in the cold night, numb. I stood slowly, hands still shaking, and tried to make sense of it. The receipts, the messages, Ryan's warning, every sign I ignored, every doubt I pushed aside, it all led to this moment. I felt hollow, like someone had carved a space inside me and left it empty. When I finally got home, the apartment was silent, the air thick with betrayal. I sat on the couch, staring at the floor. My hands were still trembling. How did I miss this? I whispered aloud. How could I be so blind? I thought about every laugh she gave, every late-night excuse, every time I chose to trust instead of suspect. Every single moment of denial now felt like a knife twisting in my chest. I went to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and stared at the empty side where she used to lie. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw something. But nothing came. I was too shocked, too raw. I trusted you, I whispered. I gave you everything and you ruined it all. Memories of our first years flashed before me, our honeymoon, her smile, the small moments I thought were real. Each one now felt tainted like a cruel joke. And yet, somewhere beneath the numbness, a tiny ember burned. Rage. Anger. Not just at her but at myself for being blind, for ignoring the signs. This isn't over, I muttered. Not yet. Not by a long shot. I sank back, eyes closed, heart racing. I knew I couldn't stay here forever, shattered and broken. But I also knew I had to plan, had to think, had to wait. Emily had taken everything from me, but she hadn't taken my mind, my resolve. Not yet. I opened my eyes, staring at the dark ceiling. You think you won, I whispered into the night. But I'm not done. I'll make sure of it. And for the first time since discovering the truth, I felt a sliver of clarity through the chaos of betrayal. I would survive this. I would endure. And one day, she would regret everything. I sat at my desk, staring at the screen, pretending to work. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but no words formed. Hey, you okay? Sarah's voice broke through the fog. She leaned against my cubicle, eyes concerned. I'm fine, I said, forcing a laugh that felt hollow even to me. Yeah. Because you look like you haven't slept in days. I'm just tired, I muttered, averting my gaze. Long week. She crouched slightly, lowering her voice. It's more than that. I know something's wrong. You can tell me. I wanted to, but the words stuck. How could I explain betrayal, humiliation, heartbreak? I shook my head. I can't. It's complicated. Sarah sighed softly. Complicated usually means someone hurt you. Talk to me. You're not alone. I stared at her, heart aching. It's Emily, she left me. With Mark. I saw them. I can't stop thinking about it. Her hand touched my shoulder gently. I'm so sorry. That's awful. I keep replaying it. I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Every laugh, every lie. I feel stupid, embarrassed. I don't even want to leave my apartment. Sarah nodded. I get it. Betrayal like that, it shatters you. But sitting in it won't help. You need control back. You need focus. I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore, I said, bitterness rising. Even myself. I didn't see it coming. I missed every sign. You trusted, she said softly. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you human. But trust in yourself again. That's your first step. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the world kept reminding me of her absence. At work, whispers floated when I walked by. Did you hear about Emily? Mark and her just posted pictures together. I clenched my fists under the table. Every laugh in the break room, every glance from a colleague felt like a reminder of my failure. That's not fair, I muttered, voice shaking. No, it isn't, Sarah agreed. But their opinions aren't yours to carry. You can't control what they say. You can only control what you do next. At lunch, I scrolled through Emily's social media, despite telling myself I wouldn't. Pictures of her smiling with Mark, captions full of happiness. My stomach churned. You're torturing yourself, Sarah said when she noticed me staring at the screen. I can't help it, I admitted. It's everywhere. Everyone knows except me, apparently. Then stop feeding it, she said firmly. Block it. Focus on you. You need to rebuild, not watch her life flourish while yours collapses. Her words hit harder than I expected. Rebuild. The idea felt impossible, but maybe it was the only path forward. That night, alone in my apartment, I poured a glass of whiskey. I stared at the amber liquid, contemplating rage, revenge, forgiveness. Do I confront her? Publicly humiliate her? Or do I just survive? I whispered to myself. The question hung in the air, unanswered. I thought about calling her, screaming at her, demanding explanations. But every fiber of me knew it would change nothing. It would only make me smaller. Instead, I stared at the ceiling, heartbeat loud in the silence. I let myself feel the anger, the grief, the emptiness. But I refused to let it consume me entirely. Over the next few days, minor events continued to pierce me. A neighbor mentioned seeing Emily at a party. Another colleague whispered about her engagement photos. Each word was a knife, twisting, and I felt my world tilting again. You okay? Sarah asked when we met for coffee. I'm surviving, I said quietly. Good, she said firmly. Survival is the first step. Revenge can come later, if it needs to. But first, regain yourself. Control yourself. You're stronger than you think. Her confidence steadied me. I realized I had been collapsing silently, letting others gossip and her flaunting dictate my emotions. I had to stop. I don't even know where to start, I admitted, stirring my coffee absently. Start with small victories, she advised. Work, fitness, friends, whatever gives you back a sense of control. Build your foundation again. One piece at a time. I nodded, trying to anchor myself in her words. She made sense as always. I could feel a spark, tiny, fragile, but it was there. Later that night, I deleted Emily from my social media. I blocked Mark. I refused to read another post. The silence felt heavy but also freeing. Sitting on the couch afterward, I whispered to myself, I'll survive. I'll get back what she took. And one day, she'll see I wasn't broken. She just made the mistake of thinking I was. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sliver of clarity through the fog of betrayal. The road ahead would be hard, but I was no longer entirely lost. I sat across from the lawyer, trying to keep my hands from shaking. Papers were spread across the desk, divorce agreements, signatures required. Are you ready? He asked, eyes calm but attentive. I nodded, a small, controlled smile tugging at my lips. I'm ready. Let's get this over with. He raised an eyebrow. You seem unusually calm. I've had time to think, I said, voice steady. It's time I stop letting betrayal dictate my life. He handed me a pen. Remember, this is final. Once you sign, it's legally binding. I understand, I replied. My mind replayed the past months, the lies, the humiliation, the nights I lay awake wondering how someone could do this. But I refused to let it break me. Not anymore. As I signed the papers, I whispered to myself, this is mine. My choice. My control. Later, I met Ryan at a cafe. You look different, he said, scanning me up and down. Better, I said, smirking. Calm, collected. Finally, he chuckled. Took you long enough. I realized something, I said, leaning forward. I can't change what she did, but I can control what I do next. And I plan to. Ryan's eyes sparkled with interest. Sounds like revenge is in the air. Not revenge, strategy, I corrected, sipping my coffee. There's a difference. He laughed. All right, strategist. What's the plan? For now, subtle. Legal, social, emotional, I said. I signed the divorce today. Every asset split, every detail documented. I refuse to let her manipulate me or use my emotions against me. And I'm reclaiming myself. Ryan nodded approvingly. Good. That's the first step. You've got this. Back home, I began changing things in small but deliberate ways. My wardrobe updated, sharper suits replacing casual shirts. Gym sessions became routine, not optional. My career received renewed attention. Projects I'd ignored suddenly became priorities. Looking sharp, Sarah said one morning when she stopped by. Thanks, I said, buttoning my jacket. Feels good to feel in control. It shows, she said, smiling. Confidence suits you. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. Meanwhile, gossip began trickling in. Emily and Mark were already showing cracks. A neighbor mentioned she missed an important dinner with friends. A colleague said Mark looked annoyed during a public event with her. I felt a strange satisfaction, not gloating but validation. The perfect couple she tried to present wasn't as flawless as she believed. At a work lunch, I overheard another whisper. Did you see Mark and Emily at the gala? He looked furious when she interrupted his speech. I smiled politely, letting the information settle. No need for confrontation. Let them unravel on their own. One evening Ryan called. They're slipping, he said. Your timing's perfect. I know, I said, feeling a rush of control. I'm focusing on myself, my life, my future. Let them deal with the chaos they created. Even in social settings, I noticed the subtle power shift. I walked taller, laughed freely, interacted with colleagues confidently. Every glance, every word, every choice was mine. I was no longer the betrayed, broken man from months ago. Sarah met me at the gym one evening. You're different, she said. The way you carry yourself, your focus, it's like you're untouchable. I am untouchable, I said more firmly than I expected. Not because I want revenge, but because I refuse to be a victim anymore. Every step I take is mine. Her eyes sparkled. Good. Keep it up. Build your empire, emotionally and socially. Don't look back. I nodded. She was right. Every gym session, every client call, every social interaction reinforced it. Emily's betrayal fueled me, but it no longer controlled me. That night, I sat in my apartment reviewing my schedule, my goals, my plans. I allowed myself a small smile. Emily and Mark's relationship was faltering, and mine was being rebuilt, stronger, sharper, and entirely mine. I'm not bitter, I whispered to the empty room. I'm prepared. And when the time comes, the consequences of her choices will reach her. But until then, I thrive. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace wrapped in determination. Betrayal no longer had power over me, I had reclaimed it. And the turning point was clear. My life was mine to lead, and I intended to do it with precision. I hadn't expected to enjoy watching their life unravel, but it was impossible not to notice. I can't believe you spent that much. I overheard Emily snapping at Mark through a mutual friend's comment. We can't afford it, and you promised. Mark's reply was sharp. I promised nothing. You're the one who booked the entire trip without telling me. I bit my lip, suppressing a grim smile. Their social media accounts made it easy to see every small crack. Missed deadlines, awkward public appearances, arguments captured in photos and videos. Karma, subtle but relentless, was in motion. At work, I shared coffee with Sarah. They look miserable, I said quietly. Sarah smiled knowingly. Not that it's our business, but it's a little satisfying, isn't it? Not really satisfaction, I corrected. More like acknowledgement. The universe balances itself. She laughed. That's one way to phrase it. I noticed my own growth in these moments. Where I used to be anxious and distracted, I was calm, composed, and present. My laughter no longer felt forced, my smile genuine. That evening, I ran into Julia, a new friend from a business seminar. She greeted me warmly. Hey, I've heard a lot about you. Everyone seems to respect your work. I felt a spark of pride but kept it humble. Thanks, Julia. That means a lot. We walked together to a nearby cafe. Conversation flowed effortlessly, unlike the tense, guarded exchanges with Emily. Her presence had always demanded performance, had always felt like walking on eggshells. Julia's respect was refreshing, grounding, even healing. Over the next few weeks, the pattern of Emily and Mark's unraveling became undeniable. They argue all the time now, Ryan said one night over drinks. Saw them at the gala last weekend. Emily stormed off. Mark looked humiliated. I've noticed, I said. Their cracks aren't hidden anymore. It's almost poetic. Poetic? Ryan teased. You sound like a philosopher. Call it observation, I said. I'm not celebrating, but I can't ignore the consequences they're facing. Actions have results. At work, gossip spread like wildfire. Emily had publicly embarrassed herself at a charity event, forgetting key speeches and fumbling introductions. Mark tried to cover, but the tension was visible in every photo and video. I heard a colleague whisper, Mark looks so stressed. Emily ruined another presentation. I smiled faintly, not gloating, just registering the truth. Life has a way of catching up to people who disregard others. Late one night, Julia and I shared a quiet dinner. You've changed, she said softly. There's strength in you now that wasn't there before. It's magnetic. I felt a warmth I hadn't felt in months. I've learned who I am, who I want to be, and who I refuse to be again. Her hand brushed mine lightly, an innocent gesture, yet it grounded me. I realized that while Emily's betrayal had broken me, it had also forced me to rebuild with intention, to reclaim my identity. Meanwhile, Emily posted another picture online. Mark smiling awkwardly, her caption full of feigned perfection. Comments ranged from envy to judgment, subtle criticism hidden beneath praise. I didn't need to watch every post, the pattern was clear. One afternoon Ryan called. You're missing all the fun, he said, chuckling. They're at another social disaster. Everyone's talking about it. I've seen, I said. It's satisfying, but more than that, it's informative. I can learn from their mistakes without making them myself. That night I reflected alone. I felt a mixture of lingering hurt and calm detachment. The pain Emily caused hadn't vanished, but it no longer ruled me. I could process it, integrate it, and move forward without bitterness. Julia's text pinged. Dinner tomorrow? I smiled. Yes, life had room for warmth, for connection, for respect, not manipulation or deceit. The next morning I prepared for a meeting with a high-profile client. My focus was razor-sharp, my presence commanding. I caught a reflection in the glass wall and didn't recognize the confident man staring back. Not arrogance, simply strength born from surviving pain. At lunch Sarah called. You're glowing, she said. And not just physically. There's purpose behind your steps now. I feel it, I said. I've realized that control isn't about revenge. It's about self-mastery, about thriving while others stumble naturally. Karma doesn't need my hand, it unfolds. And you're ready for whatever comes next? I am, I said. And when it does, I'll handle it with clarity, not rage. That evening, I scrolled briefly through news and social media. Emily and Mark's relationship was continuing to strain. Arguments, public awkwardness, missed opportunities. I closed the apps. I didn't need to watch. I knew the pattern, and more importantly, I knew my own life was moving forward. Julia called. Walk with me, she asked. Of course, I said, stepping out into the evening air. The city lights reflected my new path, a life rebuilt, self-directed, full of potential. Emily's betrayal had left scars, but they were mine to transform, not to let define me. As we walked, I whispered to myself almost silently, the universe will handle its balance. I just need to keep walking forward. And for the first time in months I felt free. The knock at my door was hesitant, almost nervous. I opened it and froze. Emily stood there, eyes wide, lips trembling. Please, can we talk? She asked softly. I let her in, motioning toward the living room. My voice was calm, controlled. Talk. She sat, hands clasped tightly. I made a mistake. Leaving you, Mark, it was wrong. I can't stop thinking about you. I want us back. I studied her, heart steady, though memories threatened to pierce me. You want us back? Emily, do you know what you did? Do you know what months of betrayal feel like? I know, and I'm sorry. I was selfish. Selfish? I interrupted. Selfish doesn't cover the nights I lay awake wondering if you were lying to me again. Selfish doesn't cover every lie, every secret, every plan you made while pretending we had a life. She flinched but continued. I was lost. I made a mistake, but I love you. Please, let me come back. I shook my head slowly. You don't get to come back, Emily. Not like this. Not after everything. Her voice cracked. I've changed. I regret it. I'll do anything. You don't understand. I said softly, almost sadly. It's not about what you'll do. It's about what I've learned. I've grown. I don't need validation from someone who broke my trust. I don't need someone who pretends to love me while betraying me. Tears welled in her eyes. But I loved you. I do love you. I don't doubt that you felt something, I admitted. But love doesn't erase actions. Actions define us. You chose him. You chose lies. I chose myself. That's the difference. She sank back, frustrated, her hands balling into fists. So, you're just done? Just like that? Yes, I said firmly. I'm done needing you to make me feel whole. I'm done begging for honesty. I'm done being the person I was before you shattered my world. Flashbacks hit me, late-night messages, empty kisses, smiles hiding deceit. Every memory sharpened the line I had drawn. I could feel the old pain, but it no longer controlled me. You think I don't regret it? She whispered, voice trembling. Every day I think about you. I made a huge mistake. And that's your problem, Emily, I said. Not mine. Regret doesn't undo months of lies. Regret doesn't fix the emptiness you left. She stared at me, frustration and disbelief in equal measure. You've changed. You're not the same man I left behind. I've had to change, I said softly, almost a whisper. Because surviving betrayal forced me to grow. I rebuilt myself, Emily. Stronger, wiser, unbroken. And I won't let anyone, especially not you, take that away. She got up abruptly. You're cruel? No, I said, standing to meet her gaze evenly. I'm honest. You wanted the truth and this is it. You left. You lied. You chose de say. I'm just living my life without it. She took a step toward the door, voice shaking. I thought we had something real. We did, I said. But it was built on trust, and trust isn't mine to give to someone who discards it. She froze, her lips quivering. I can't believe this. I thought I could fix it. You can't fix what you broke, I said. I've realized something important. My happiness isn't tied to your choices. My self-worth isn't validated by your regret. I am enough on my own. Her shoulders slumped. She opened the door slowly. You're impossible, she said, voice quiet now. I thought I could win you back, but clearly not. I nodded calmly. No, Emily. You can't. Goodbye. The door closed softly behind her, the sound final. I sank onto the couch, breathing slowly, the room quiet except for my own heartbeat. I let myself feel relief, pure, untainted. The storm had passed. I didn't feel glee at her failure, only calm acknowledgement that I no longer depended on her for validation. I reflected on months of grief, rage, and recovery. Every sleepless night, every pang of betrayal had led to this moment. Emotional independence. I had survived, grown, and reclaimed myself. I thought about Julia and Sarah, about my own work and the life I was building. My world was full of people who respected me, challenges that energized me, and opportunities that inspired me. I didn't need Emily to complete me. The apartment felt lighter somehow, the air clearer, my mind sharper. I realized that closure wasn't about her apology, her regret, or her pleas. It was about my acceptance, my calm, my choice to move forward. I whispered to myself, almost reverently, I am whole. I am enough. And I will never allow anyone to break me like that again. Sitting there, alone yet entirely at peace, I finally understood. The betrayal had been devastating, but it had also been the catalyst for transformation. I had turned heartbreak into strength, anger into clarity, and loss into self-realization. And as the sun set outside, casting a warm glow across the room, I smiled faintly. Not at her, not at revenge, not at satisfaction, but at myself. For the first time I felt truly free. I woke up to sunlight streaming through the apartment window. The warmth felt different now, comforting, not suffocating. I stretched, savoring the calm, and smiled to myself. Morning, Julia's voice came from the kitchen. Morning, I replied, leaning against the doorway. She was humming softly, making coffee. Her presence no longer made me nervous, it made me feel alive. You're up early, she said, sliding a mug toward me. I couldn't sleep, I admitted, taking the mug. Too much on my mind, in a good way. She laughed lightly. That sounds new. I like it. I like it too, I said, sipping the coffee. It's peaceful without chaos. Later at work, I signed off on a major project, the culmination of months of focus and dedication. My assistant, Mark, different Mark, thank God, grinned. Congrats. This is huge. The board's impressed. Thanks, I said, feeling pride swell in my chest. Not the pride of ego but the quiet satisfaction of growth. Feels good to finally see progress paying off. Sarah called that evening. How's the world's newest success story? She teased. I'm thriving, I said laughing. Not just surviving anymore. Good, she said warm and proud. You've earned every bit of this. Yeah, I said leaning back in my chair. And it's funny, months ago I thought losing everything meant I was broken. Now I see it was just clearing space for what matters. Exactly, she agreed. Pain can't define you. But how you rise, that's your story. And rise I did. Even small victories, like finishing a marathon I had always put off or booking a solo trip to Italy, felt monumental. Each step was a reclamation, each choice mine alone. One evening Julia and I walked along the river. The lights reflected off the water, golden and shimmering. I never realized how much I needed this, I said quietly. Laughter, adventure, peace, connection without fear or manipulation. She smiled, slipping her hand into mine. You've built something worth keeping not just for yourself, but with someone who respects you. I see that now, I said. It's not about revenge. Karma happened, yes, but my growth is the true reward. My life is mine again. Julia squeezed my hand. I'm glad you see it that way. I laughed softly, a sound lighter than it had been in years. I still think about Emily sometimes, I admitted. Not with longing, not with pain, just awareness. And I realized something. Her choices shaped me, but they don't control me. Sarah stopped by a week later. You're glowing, she said, scanning my apartment. It's full of energy now. Light, purpose, life. I'm learning to love it, I said. And love myself. Good, she said, smiling. Keep going. You're only getting stronger. Dinner with friends became routine, filled with laughter and stories. I noticed how much I could enjoy the small things now. Coffee in the morning, long walks, jokes shared over a glass of wine. I had learned patience, presence, and perspective. One night, Julia and I watched the city from my balcony. You've changed, she said softly. Not just healed, transformed. I turned to her. I have. And I'm still learning. But the difference is I'm not defined by betrayal anymore. I'm defined by what I choose to create. She smiled and leaned on my shoulder. And that's beautiful. Weeks later, at a family gathering, I found myself laughing with cousins, sharing stories, not holding back, not protecting some fragile ego. Emily's name came up in conversation, not in gossip, but as a passing memory. I felt a brief flicker of the old hurt, but it didn't linger. Instead, I felt calm, detached, whole. I realized I could acknowledge the past without letting it control my present. I never thought I'd feel like this again, I whispered to Julia later that night. You mean alive? She said softly. Yes, I admitted. Whole, free, and ready for whatever comes next. Even career milestones no longer carried anxiety, they carried pride. I received an award at a company event, and as I gave my acceptance speech, I looked at the crowd, at my friends, colleagues, and family. I realized that my strength wasn't just personal, it radiated outward. Life isn't about avoiding pain, I told them. It's about learning, growing, and rising stronger than before. And I've learned that the past can't touch me if I refuse to let it. Applause rang through the room. I smiled, internally savoring it, not for validation but as acknowledgement of my journey. Later, alone, I returned to my balcony. The city stretched below, alive, endless. I thought of Emily and Mark, their struggles, their errors. Karma had unfolded naturally without my interference. I didn't feel satisfaction in cruelty, just understanding. Life balances itself. I exhaled slowly, letting the night air wash over me. I survived, I whispered. I rebuilt. I am stronger. I am whole. Julia joined me silently, her presence grounding. I realized then that joy isn't just recovery, it's forward motion, it's growth, it's connection with those who respect and inspire you. For the first time since betrayal, I felt a deep, unshakable peace. The storm had passed. Karma had its way and I had reclaimed mine. The past lingered only as memory, not as a weight. And I smiled not in spite of it but because I had risen above it. I raised a glass to the night sky. To growth. To freedom. To life. The city lights twinkled in response. And for the first time in years I felt entirely unstoppable.